Hello YouTube viewers, Mack of Mack's Mack is here for my second video review. First one seems to have gone okay, so I thought, you know what, let's continue this, see where we go from here, and had to decide popularity wise what seems to be best well received on my channel, and that would be Gundam, definitely. Well, it was in the name originally, it used to be the Gundam guy before it was Mack's Mechas, so thought let's go back to the roots, the hell with it. And here we have for today's review, the HGUC readaptation of the GM ground type. Now, originally this unit was produced, I think it was 1998, they did a kit of it. And while it was very accurate to Ogawa's original design, it wasn't a great kit. It did come with a couple of weapons and accessories, this one doesn't, but it was very basic. If you remember many of the old Gundam Wing kits, there was very much along those same lines. This has completely overhauled it. In fact, it has, even though it uses less parts than its Gundam counterpart, which was released, I think, 2006, quote me if I'm wrong there, even though this has more parts than this has a lot more articulation to it and detail. Now, noticeably, you'll see here, first off, this relies on stickers for much of the detail in it, like the chest vents and the little sticker here. This one, not so much. They actually managed to pass this off without using too many. You've only got 1, 2, 3 stickers that are actually needed, and the rest are all optional decals. Now, you do have ones to go around the chest vent here, but I left them off because, well, I thought the full black actually looked a lot better than having tan with black vents to it. Paint wise, or colour wise, it actually does look better this way than the bright colours it originally was, which you can see with, I'll just grab it here, the MSIA figure. Here it is. It was considerably smaller and a lot more expensive when I bought it, only because at the time these have been discontinued, and that led to a real sharp rise in prices. Fun fact, when I built the kit I numbered it number 3 just because I thought it seemed a little bit odd. It wasn't 8, it wasn't 6, it wasn't the 4th team, so I didn't realise that this one was also number 3. I'd forgotten about that. I hadn't looked at this in years. I'd forgotten that that was even same. Yeah, probably cut that bit out. A few size comparisons you saw there with the ground type Gundam, and joining their Nemesis counterpart, the Gov Custom, who is considerably bigger, but not as big as new UC era suits like the Garazulu Guards type. Very basic accessory layout with this kit. You had the standard 100mm machine gun, and the magazines are interchangeable from those on the waist. Just unhook these and they are the same fitting on the machine gun as they are on the waist. The shield is actually quite interesting, but it does dislodge easy, so I'll just take that off to show here that it does indeed flip out for a sort of pile driver that we've seen used in Battle in 3 Dimensions. But you also have the ground hook. Now, what's kind of interesting about that is that that is actually intended for use with the 100mm cannon you get with the ground type Gundam. This cannot hold that cannon at all, so why it comes with this, I don't know. It doesn't have any other weapons that it can lean on against it. I mean, the neck gun's not really going to sit low down. Speaking of other accessories, very basic. One interchangeable beam saber hand for the left. Two of the beam saber blades, which are slightly bigger now for HGs. They've sort of a nice midpoint between the really short blades they originally had and the overly long, overly thin blades you get with typical Master Grade kits. One hook for the back skirt just here on this panel so that it can hold the bazooka. I'm not really a fan of the clay bazooka because, as we've seen originally in episode 3 and with the MSI figures and the HCM Pro, that's supposed to break down the store into a container. Now, I know with the GM it doesn't have a container, but it would have been nice if it had been able to break down for storage in the Gundam. Maybe we'll see that in an upcoming reissue of the Gundam. Last weapon is the neck gun, which we only ever see used against the Apsalis, but after doing a bit more reading, it seems that they were often used to lay down chain nets to stop Zaku's from walking through the forest. Helped him set up a perimeter of their defense line. I thought that was pretty nifty. Almost like barbed wire for Gundams. Articulation is shockingly good, actually. Now you have this typical new ball joint you get in the arms. It's just one polycap in there, but it does have a good range of motion right the way up. Double joint at the elbow. Swivel bicep. And you actually have a polycap in here to allow for a double jointed wrist. Now this is good for the beam sabers, as you can actually have them held outright as they would be rather than just straight upwards, which I've always found rather stupid in a lot of things. But it also means it can properly hold the bazooka. Down into the legs, you can separate these pieces on the front of the waist. These side skirts don't really move out that far, but far enough to allow the legs to come right the way out. All the way forward. Just lift that up a bit. So far back, you can see this is now a separate piece as opposed to the Gundam, allowing for rotation. Double jointed knee, and quite a nifty joint in the foot here actually that allows for quite a bit of back and forward. But you also, if I just lift this out of the way, have a separate joint here. So if we just flip about with them here, there again, that shield popping out very easily, but you can get them into some pretty nifty poses very easily. And steadying him's another problem. Ah, there we go. And then the last bit of articulation is in here at the waist, where you have two separate joints to allow this to rock back and forth. There goes that shield again. And a nice double joint on the head for quite far up, a little bit down, side to side, and all around. No joints on the boosters at the back, but you don't really need them. And last feature, down in these side skirts, just much like the Gundam itself, and just as fiddly. Come on. Now try this side. Nope, it's going to fit me too. There we go. Bollocks. Ah, there we are. Just set him down. Beam saber actually stores inside the waist. This little peg here clips in to here, other way around. Sliding out, not quite as nifty as the MG, but the fact that it's in there is still a lot better than what we get on some other kits. The likes of the Anksha, where the beam sabers are meant to store inside the arm, and the Kshatriya as well. Well, they don't have that kind of feature. They just give you the beam sabers plain. So, all in, it is definitely the best representation we have got to date of one of the 8th MS team grunt suits. Even the Goof Custom, Goof, however you want to pronounce it, has its problems with articulation, limitations, even some of the detailing being cast in all blue. You can see that here. Just all blue through the arm. Everything just sort of blends together. Single joint. This really gets in the way of the arm coming up. This has no limitations whatsoever. It is very hard to find something that cannot do that you have seen throughout the show. So all said, I give this 9 out of 10. Excellent articulation, excellent colours, excellent representation of one of questionably the best grunt suits to come from the show. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and link in the description to Mack's Mechas. Thanks again.